training. Cybersecurity training, making sure that you and your team members understand how to be safe on the internet, when emails are suspicious, what they look like, how to recognize a phishing attack when it's coming to you, how to recognize a fake invoice, and doing this ongoing training and keeping on top of all of the emerging threats is very important, even to the smallest business.
Welcome to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast for micropreneurs building genuine, lasting relationships with clients, colleagues, and community. I'm your host, Kandas Rodarte. If you love listening to interviews with grateful entrepreneurs who are making this world a better place, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave your groovy review. Today, I'm joined by technology solutions expert Jennifer Shubo. With over 2 decades of experience at Big Water Technologies, Jennifer is passionate about empowering micro, small, and medium business owners with invaluable insights. Her mission? To underscore the vital significance of a technology success partner in navigating the complex landscape of business telecom, carrier services, and cybersecurity. Jennifer's expertise extends from cloud voice to managed IT services, offering practical advice on safeguarding against cyber threats and optimizing technology investments. Tune in as Jennifer shares her wealth of knowledge, ensuring your business stays ahead in today's digital world. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me, Candace. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us your story. How did you get to where you are today?
All right. Well, a little background. I took the nepotism path. Honestly. So Big Water Technologies is co-owned by my father, Bob Shubo. It certainly wasn't my original, it wasn't my first career, and it probably wouldn't be where I was working today if I didn't have these family connections. But I'll tell you, I love doing what I'm doing, and I'm really glad and grateful that my life turned out this way. My first career, I actually worked as a chef. I'd gone to University of Michigan. I got an undergraduate degree in liberal arts. Can't do much from that job-wise, but I'd been working as a cook throughout, most of high school and all through college. After graduation, I kept working as a cook. And a chef that I was working with at the time at a great restaurant that's still around, Grizzly Peak Brewing Company in Ann Arbor, Michigan, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. You keep asking for more responsibility. If you want to take this seriously, you should go to culinary school." So at that point, I approached my parents, who had always said they would pay for grad school. Really wasn't what they had in mind. But I said, "How do you feel about culinary school? And I'll make a deal with you. You put me through culinary school, I'm going to go be a chef, but I'm also at your disposal whenever I'm able for all family functions, holiday meals, etc. From now into the rest of the eternity, I will be your chef." Well, I was very, very grateful they agreed. And I went and spent a year and a half at Western Culinary Institute out on the West Coast, learned how to be a professional chef, spent a number of years after that working for Ritz-Carlton. After my husband and I got engaged and then got married, we moved back to Michigan to be closer to family. We had been living on the West Coast in California, both working in the Orange County area. And at that time, very grateful to have a soft landing back in Michigan. I was between jobs, and my father suggested that I come and work for him. Anyone who works in kitchens knows that every now and then you need a break. It's a very, very rough schedule, weekends, holidays, evenings. And after a couple of years being back in Michigan and doing that, the whole point was being here to spend time with family, and I wasn't getting to do that. So I took my dad up on the offer of coming to work for him for a little while to get a break from the culinary world, and I never went back. I was incredibly grateful to get the softest introduction to business sales I think that ever exists on planet Earth. I spent a year learning how to sell. I had a wonderful sales manager at the time who took me under his wing and taught me the art of business to business sales. I didn't even hear the word quota for a year. And it was a wonderful way to get to know the business. I was also, my father insisted that if I was going to work for him, I learn all aspects of the business. So I spent time as a customer service rep, answering phone calls, learning how to do front desk paperwork, learning how to do the deposits, learning how to manage inventory in the warehouse, basically getting an idea of all the things that went into keeping a business running. And I've been the sales leader at Big Water for over a decade at this point, and it's a wonderful place to be. My favorite part of my job is helping clients solve difficult technology challenges, and it's with a customer service mindset that I bring from my years with the Ritz-Carlton.
There is so much to unpack there.
I
So much.
know.
So much. Okay. I want to straight away start with how your father wanted you to learn all aspects of the business, because I personally think it doesn't matter what company you work for, big or small, you really do need to have a handle on what the entire company does, even if you're the janitor.
Absolutely.
You need to know why you're showing up to clean the toilets, right? Talk about that.
Well, when I was between jobs and cooking, instead of just saying, "Hey, come work for me," because I was very skeptical. I wasn't sure I wanted a desk job. I didn't want to work with telephones and technology. It wasn't what I did. But he said to me, "Shadow an employee for a couple of weeks and see what it's like. And if you like it, then we'll find a role for you." So I spent 2 weeks following another team member around and learning what they did as part of their job. And then I spent a little time shadowing another team member for a little while. And at that point, he was, paying me a very low wage at that point. I said, "Okay, I'll do this." And the first job I actually had was called well, they called it a customer service rep at that time, but it was basically a project management position. So I was interfacing with everyone within our organization and then interfacing with clients as well. I was basically a conduit of information and the person who called and set reminders and all of that. And that was really great. But after a time, he said, "Well, if you're going to stay with me a couple years later, I want you to learn all the other aspects of the business." So he basically rotated me through, all of the other job titles. I didn't start in sales until I was with him for about 5 years. And that happened because a long-term salesperson retired. I will never forget that conversation. He came into my cube and said, "Hey, I've got some news to share with you." And I said, "What's the news?" And he said, "Well, first piece of news is that Janet, who was a long-term sales rep with our company, is retiring." And I said, "Oh, congratulations. That's great for Janet." And I said, "What's the second piece of news?" He says, "You're a salesperson now." And I said, I'm a what?" And he said, "Well, we talked about it. And instead of going out to hire someone else, we're going to teach you how to do it." So they did. And everything I learned about technology and business telecom and all the things I do, I learned on the job. I learned from trial and error. And I started learning by helping clients, from the user side of things, express their problems, their frustrations to my internal team. So I had a big handle on the user experience before I ever went out to sell things. It's, I think, integral to how I address my role as a salesperson. It's all about being consultative. It's all about getting to understand where my clients' challenges lie, being able to be that geek to English translator. That's one of my, I think, key roles is I can understand the technology well enough, though I'm not a programmer. I don't code. I don't, do any of that stuff. And for a lot of what I quote my clients, I even have help with putting the solutions together. But my role is to talk to people, basically to figure out where they're struggling, what's frustrating for them, what their challenges are, and then help put a plan together with my team that's going to make their technology work for them instead of the other way around.
Yeah, that's an important thing. I'm curious, you came to your technology business. I mean, you went from chef to tech.
Yeah.
What did you bring with you from the culinary world?
Well, one of the things that I talk about is the fact that Ritz-Carlton, where I worked for many years, has an incredibly high level of customer service. It's their motto is "Ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen." And one of the things that always struck me is when any of our clients had an issue, you were to stop what you're doing and handle that issue immediately. That becomes priority one. So if I was, for example, cooking on the omelet station and a woman walked up to me and asked me where the ladies' room was, my job was to turn off that omelet pan, hand it over to another team member, and walk that patron to the ladies' room. Not point, not give directions, but stop what I'm doing and give that immediate customer service. And that's an attitude that stayed with me through every other job that I've had since then. It's being able to pre-anticipate your clients and prospects needs before they even know they have them, and being able to take that level of service where you literally walk the person through every step of the process. And that's has served me very well, translating into helping my clients with technology solutions.
That is brilliant. And I'm not sure that I knew that that was what Ritz-Carlton's, what's the word?
Motto.
Motto.
Yeah.
Is it still their motto?
I do believe so. When I was working for them, it was some time ago, but they had already been bought by Marriott at that time. So I assume that they haven't changed their motto since then.
Because that doesn't really exist today. The most of the time you get pointed, right? And sometimes they're like, I don't know, around the corner, right?
Yep.
To actually be walked to the restroom is the ultimate in customer service. And
Absolutely.
when it happens to you, when you're like, hey, what aisle is the pickles in? Right?
Right.
When they just stop everything and they walk you to the pickle aisle, you're like, oh. But then they tell you aisle 12 and you're like, well, what aisle am I in now? Right?
Exactly.
You just feel so disregarded. So
Yeah.
that it is a huge thing.
It really is. It really is. And we try to bring that level of white glove customer service to everything that we do at Big Water Technologies. That's really one of our key differentiators that we talk about, both amongst ourselves and to our clients, is that we want to provide our clients with the highest level of service. We're certainly not the cheapest company out there. We don't want to be the cheapest company out there, but we want to provide excellent customer service to everyone that we do business with.
This is what I know about cheap. You end up paying for it in the end. So
Absolutely.
if you fly one of those discount airlines, you're going to pay for your luggage. You're going to pay for your snacks. You're going to pay for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every add-on is an extra fee. But when you upgrade, and you don't go with the discount airline and you fly on a, old-fashioned airline,
Yeah.
everything's included, including your luggage if you do it right. And when then you compare pricing and you're like, oh, the discount airline is actually more expensive and a lot less what's the word I'm looking for?
User friendly.
User friendly. Yes, user friendly.
Yeah.
I will never go cheap on an airplane again, because after everything else gets added, it's still the same price.
Yep.
And the
Absolutely.
seats are smaller and you don't get a snack.
Yep. Yep.
So
And I'm grateful that our clients trust us to be their technology solution provider. I have the reputation at Big Water amongst all of the team members that answer phone calls as there's a whole lot of clients that only want to talk to me. Now that's great in some cases, sometimes it's a burden, but I appreciate that they know that if they need something, they can reach out to me and it's gonna get done. It's always gonna get done.
maybe you need to train the rest of the team that it's going to get done with them too, or train your clients. Everybody here can take just as good of care of you. I mean, but it is true. There are people, when you have your favorite customer service rep at a company that you do business with often,
Yeah,
you want to be talking to them and not somebody else, even though everybody else is
absolutely.
empowered to help you.
And I want to be top of mind whenever my clients have a technology question. I do a lot of referral networking. As you know, Candace, I'm active in BNI and other referral networks. So sometimes a client will come to me with a really like off the wall tech question, and it's something that Big Water Technologies doesn't necessarily do, or we couldn't specifically help them with as an organization. But I have a huge network of resources that I may be able to refer that client to that specializes in that exact, odd thing, that whether it's, software integration or audiovisual or alarm systems or whatever it is, I still want my clients calling me first and asking me that question so I can then provide them good referrals to people that I know and trust.
Somebody recently asked me to be a guest on their podcast, and it was a topic that it's not my zone of genius. And the first thing I did was I say, I don't think I'm a good fit for that topic. However, I could introduce you to 3 people who might be.
There you
And
go.
and that is what you can do. I mean, you do it too.
Absolutely.
That is the genius of having a well organized network.
Yes,
Let's
and a
organize it.
well-rounded
Yeah.
network and a large network because, I do business with clients all over the US and my network extends, all over the country. So I'm known amongst my clients as you need something, you can go to Jen and she probably knows someone who does that. And for clients that I've helped with relocation projects, even more so because, they need all the trades when they're doing a relocation. It's not just technology involved in something like that. They need the plumbers and the carpenters and the carpet guys and all of that I can, help add value to my relationship with my clients by being able to refer people from my network to them.
So how long has your dad had his company, Big Water Technologies?
So it used to be called Ultracom. We rebranded as Big Water in 2010. But Ultracom that is now Big Water was founded in 1977. So
What did it do in 77?
77, it was a telecom company. So we're actually as a ongoing organization, the longest AT&T reseller of any business in the state of Michigan. So we've been an AT&T reseller continuously longer than anyone else. So he started working in telecom right after deregulation. A lot of people who are younger don't know this, but like back in the day in the 50s and 60s,
In the early 70s.
and the early 70s, you couldn't buy a phone. The only way you could get a phone if you had a house or a business is you had to rent your service through AT&T. And the ending
Or
of
one of
that,
the Bell companies
one of the bells,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. So the ending of that, it actually broke up the first Bell monopoly. There's all kinds of information on that history, but he started in business shortly after businesses were able to buy their own phone systems for the first time. So that's what the business started as. We were selling dial tone solutions and we were selling phone system hardware to business. Over the year, it grew and expanded. We added low voltage wiring. So we were running all the and we still do, all the low voltage infrastructure in business to support phones and computers and Wi-Fi and alarms and camera systems and fiber and all of that. And then when we had our merger with another company to form Big Water Technologies in the late aughts, we brought on a full line of IT services as well, because we saw the writing on the wall. Telecom was starting to become more and more reliant on computers, and computers were starting to become more and more prevalent. Every business needed, a data network at that point. It was so Big Water is that company that provides everything from carrier services to coordination, low voltage wiring, voice networks and voice over IP, including cloud, data networks, build out, design, etc., and managed services, including cybersecurity, because they all tie together.
So let's talk about cybersecurity. What does that look like? What does a solopreneur, entrepreneur, micropreneur, somebody with less than 6 employees, what do they need to know about cybersecurity?
Well, they need to know that they're a target as well. And I think that's the biggest takeaway when I talk to small business owners. They try to pull the ostrich, right? Bury their head in the sand. It's I'm too small to be bothered with, but that is not true. Almost 3/4 of all cyber attacks happen to small and medium businesses, and that includes micro businesses and solopreneurs. So it really depends on that business's need for compliancy, right? If it's a small medical practice, they have a very high standard, right? Because they have to be HIPAA compliant. If I'm doing send out cards as a solopreneur, my level is lower, but there's still important things to know about. You need the appropriate device. You need the appropriate antivirus client on your device. If you have an actual physical office location, having the right internet service, like you have a building, not everybody working from home, having the right internet service, having the right firewall. All of these things are very important to ensure that you're protected, but most importantly, training. Cybersecurity training, making sure that you and your team members understand how to be safe on the internet. When emails are suspicious, what they look like, how to recognize a phishing attack when it's coming to you, how to recognize a fake invoice. And doing this ongoing training and keeping on top of all of the emerging threats is very important, even to the smallest business, because especially as a solopreneur, you're incredibly vulnerable. It's passwords. Please don't reuse your passwords. Please, please, please don't reuse your passwords. Having a password manager piece of software is hugely helpful. It's software that creates strong passwords for you and saves them for you.
Do
You
you
log
have
in.
do you have a top three password management, your favorite top three? You know, you don't have to pick one, but are there three that you like?
There's a lot out there, but what I would recommend is that even solopreneur, consult with an IT professional because they're going to put together a customized solution that's going to work for your business, for your specific needs. There's no such thing as a one size fits all solution. We have
That's
a
true.
variety of software products that we offer, and I wouldn't ever make a recommendation without first getting to know what that specific client's needs are.
And that right there is white glove service.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that email is the biggest entry point into cybersecurity, but what else does a small business need to worry about when it comes to cybersecurity?
Oh, scams come from more than just email. You have to worry about text. You have to worry about messaging on any social apps that you're on. All of those are potential paths in to a breach or a hack. Dark web scanning is also important. That's a service that we offer to our clients that any, reputable IT company would offer,
What does
where
that mean?
they're periodically checking. Well, we're periodically checking for our clients that hire us to do so, all of their domains and their email addresses and see if they have shown up on the dark web. Basically, the dark web, it's the underground internet. It's the places where criminal enterprises and hackers go to exchange information. These are not URLs and sites that the average person is aware of and has privy to. It's invitation only in many cases, and it's where a lot of criminal activity happens on the web. So if your credentials are exposed on the dark web, it's time to change your passwords, time to potentially change your logins, and time to try to find out how they got out there. What was that path of that breach?
Wow, that's scary.
It is.
That's
It's quite scary. I mean, the landscape out there is a little ridiculous right now. We hear about cybersecurity breaches all the time with even the, most tech savvy of companies, companies you wouldn't think of that would experience a breach. Government entities, hospitals, all kinds of things. So if they can breach companies that have invested millions of dollars in their cybersecurity, breaching a small business or a micro business is a piece of cake. And you may think that you don't have anything valuable to hackers and cyber criminals, but that's not true.
yeah.
Your computing power in and of itself is valuable. There's hacks going on where people are taking a portion of the computing power of your laptop to go mine Bitcoin. So they're not using their own laptop to do that. There's all kinds of different scams out there. Spear phishing is a huge one.
What is that?
Um, Spear phishing is when a hacker, basically, or a cyber criminal, slowly goes after what they call a big fish by basically drip marketing them. They could be posing as a beautiful woman or a handsome man on Facebook to first get their attention. They could then start having a conversation with them, getting to build rapport, then perhaps brag about how they've just gotten great gains in investing in cryptocurrency, and then send a link to their new friend as to how they can invest too. And instead of that money going into a real cryptocurrency platform, it's being siphoned off into the cyber criminal's pocket. This stuff happens.
So I received a text message in the last couple of weeks. It said, "Hey, Melissa, let's go golfing tomorrow." And I immediately knew it was a scam
Mhm.
because I'm plugged into what scams look like. So, I blocked the number and what's up, but it was a text message.
Yep.
They had my cell phone number.
Absolutely. Well, you can buy lists of cell phone numbers and you can train bots to just send out messages. And what they're looking for is a hit. So, a quick piece of advice, if you ever get a text like that and you're suspicious, you don't recognize the number at all, you should not respond to that text. You should immediately delete it and block it. Because if you respond, they know they've got a live one and more will come, and they'll come from different numbers and they'll have different types of messages. So if you ever think that there's a suspicious text, email, Facebook message, IG message, anywhere that you are on social media, not responding is the way to go. Just like not answering those scam likely phone calls when they show up on your phone is the way to go. Let them go to voicemail. If it was important, if it was something that was you're actually supposed to handle, they'll leave you a voicemail and you can call them back and deal with that. I mean, there are so many ways that cyber criminals trick us. They can send us emails that look like they're from legitimate websites, but the font is slightly different on one of the letters. So instead of the capital or the lowercase a looking like that, it could have that weird little curly thing on top. You don't notice it, right? At Bank of
Yeah.
America, if the A looks a little different in the middle of America, but that's enough to get you to redirect
Yeah.
and go where you're not supposed to go.
So, these people are brilliant. And if they would come up with ways to make money legitimately rather than scamming people and doing it, you know, grossly and disgustingly, then just
Well,
imagine, imagine how much
I
better the
learned
world would
something
be.
new recently, actually, that I found really disturbing is that a lot of people who are these cyber criminals, these people are perpetuating these scams, the actual people that are sending the texts and the emails, they're actually slaves.
Yeah.
They've been human trafficked. They're stuck. They have no choice. They're
Yeah.
basically literally chained to a desk and forced to do this work. You think it's farmers and miners and physical labor, that kind of thing, sex workers, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that are trafficked, especially in Asia, that are the ones perpetuating these scams. And it's
And
not that they want to, they're forced to.
and it's 2024 and it's so hard to believe that still goes on. I watched a show with Emmett Smith, the football player.
Mhm.
It was a genealogy. I'm a genealogy nerd. I love ancestry and genealogy. And so I watched the show. It was about him tracing his roots, and he was able through DNA to trace back that he had a very high percentage of DNA from Benin, the country of
Mhm.
Benin. And so he wanted to visit the country of his, ancestor. So he visited Benin, and it was a TV show. So he got the white glove service. We should call this episode white glove service. So
There
he
you
got
go.
the white glove service, and they took him on this great tour. They showed him where the slaves had been auctioned off when there was an active slave trade. And then they took him to the school with all these orphans. And he said, where do these orphans come from? And the answer was that they had been rescued, that they had been sold into slavery by their parents, and they had been rescued and brought to the school. It's still happening in 2024,
Oh,
where
yeah.
families feel like they have no other choice than to sell their children. And these were kids. They were,
Mhm.
they were, and it's not, like you said, it's not sex.
Mhm.
They're being sold to do crypto scams and, work in factories.
Or to
It's,
harvest cacao. The
yeah.
chocolate industry, unfortunately, is rife with it.
It breaks your heart. And
It
that's
does.
happening today. It's happening today. Oh, okay. We went down a really sad, dark path.
I'm sorry. I
Let's
was
come.
actually just reading recently about cacao farms, chocolate farms, and the prevalence of child slave labor. There's brands out there that are ethically sourced, but the majority of chocolate, unfortunately, I recently learned is not. Makes
So,
me
how,
sad because I
so how,
really love chocolate.
how do you know which ones are ethically sourced?
You got
Is
to do
there?
your
There's no.
research.
There's no regulatory.
Tony's, Tonys. They're one brand that I'm aware of that is 100% ethically sourced chocolate. But your standard cocoa bar, your standard chocolate ice cream, that's it's not the case.
That breaks my heart.
I know,
Breaks my
mine
heart.
too. Because as I said, I really love chocolate. So I gotta start reading labels a little more carefully and perhaps spending a little more to ensure that the chocolate that I'm bringing into my house isn't the product of human trafficking.
Yeah. So hard
Mhm.
to know. And then, you take your stand. Like I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that I refuse to have a TikTok account because there's the evidence exists that the Chinese government has their fingers in it, and my grandfather was murdered by the Chinese government. So I'm not ever going to allow my stuff to be on TikTok, right?
Mhm.
It's just not just. But then other people, then they always come back and say, "Well, do you buy stuff on Amazon?" But
Mhm.
you can't, you can't just block it all. It's too hard to block it all, but I can control that, right? I can do my best to control that I am not giving away my information to somebody that I don't want to have it. I can control that. I can't necessarily control who Amazon is sourcing their paper products from, right? I, and
Absolutely.
I'm not
Absolutely.
giving my information away to a Chinese corporation when I purchase from Amazon. I'm giving my information to Amazon,
Yeah,
right? So
and
there,
all of those social media platforms to kind of bring it back around, when you ask me how are hackers getting to people, those social media platforms is one of the key ways that these cyber criminals are gaining access to your accounts. I mean, I'm sure we all remember those quizzes that used to come through social media all the
and
time,
people still do them.
Oh yeah, never fill out a quiz. All right, there's another tip. If you see a quiz on social media that wants to ask about where you grew up and who your first pet's name was and all of those cute little facts about your childhood and where you went to high school, please do not put that on social media. That is just one other way that, bots and bad actors can gather information about you, and don't use those things in your passwords, right?
Yeah.
Let's not use our birth dates. Let's not use our names. Let's not use the name of the site that we're visiting and creating a password for. Um, you know, Definitely. And please don't write your passwords on sticky notes and stick them on the side of your laptop or on your desk blotter or in a little notebook that you keep in your desk drawer. That's another great way to have your credentials compromised. Think about it. If you're in an office, you have a cleaning crew that comes in, right? You don't know what that cleaning crew, what their background is. And even if they had a background check, that person's brother or cousin or somebody may say, hey, just snap some pictures for me while you're there. And that's all it takes. And you don't ever know how that breach occurred.
Yeah. That's so scary. All right. How do you feel about webcam covers? So let me give you some context. I was talking to I was in a speed networking situation where I was talking to a person who made promotional products, and then there were two others of us in the room. One was a chiropractor and the other was me, and we were talking about promotional products, and I was asking what items were under $5 that were big sellers, and he offhandedly said webcam cover, but he didn't think that they were a good promotional item. And I was like, actually, a webcam cover is an excellent promotional item because it will get used all the time. And he's like, really? Share your insight into webcam covers.
Um, uh, Black tape. I use electrical tape. And I also make a habit of closing so I work on a laptop at home. I close my laptop when I leave the room. So I don't leave that webcam up and open for anyone to potentially, hack my computer and see what's going on. But I also have the Big Water Tech team behind me. There is so much cybersecurity software on my work laptop that I'm not very concerned about it. Now, my husband's personal laptop, electrical tape, because he has a habit of leaving it open. He'll
So
get up off the couch and sit the laptop down, and yeah.
so share, I mean, some people might be listening to this going, what? So why do we need to cover our
That's a very good question. So if you haven't made the investment in a good cybersecurity plan and you are wide open, you don't have antivirus, you don't have password protection, etc., there's a distinct possibility that someone put spyware on your device and they can see through your camera and hear through your speakers and microphone when you've stepped away when you're not aware. The light doesn't turn on, so you don't know what's happening. And just like there are keywords where you can call up, Alexis or Siri, sometimes they're keywords or sometimes it's all the time. where they're recording the sounds going on in your house and being able to view what's going on in your house through your webcam and microphone. It obviously, I'm not worried about that for our clients because we've put the tools in place that would prevent that. But for a solopreneur that maybe is just using Wi-Fi right out of their Comcast modem at their house and never had antivirus, doesn't have an IT company to do periodic checkups on their laptop, it's a distinct possibility. And so they could hear all kinds of sensitive information, anything that's going on in your house.
That means don't leave your computer on when you're not at your desk.
That means don't leave your computer on when you're not at your desk. And also, you should restart your computer frequently. Shut down and restart. I
How
know
often?
at least every couple days,
Oh,
once a
wow,
week,
that's very often. Okay.
once a week minimum, I'd say. I make it a habit of a couple of times a week to shut down and restart. That helps clear cookies, closes out old tabs that you might have forgotten about. It's a good habit that my tech team at Big Water got me into some time ago.
When I shut down my computer and restart it, all of my tabs are still there when I get back.
Do a restart, not a shutdown. There's when you go to your little power button, you can do a shutdown or you can do a restart. They're different things. A shutdown just turns it off. A restart reboots everything.
Yeah. When you reopen Chrome, all of your tabs are still there.
No. Well, maybe my team has my shutdown and restart set up a little differently.
Maybe. Oh,
Because
maybe I just revealed information about my computer that I shouldn't have revealed.
I don't know. When I do a restart, everything turns off. I have to log back into everything. I have to redo my
Oh,
multi-factor
wow.
authentication into all of my apps that I log into. Both I have multi-factor on my computer, and
Yeah.
many of the apps I use for my business require a separate multi-factor login. So it's a process. I generally give myself 5 to 10 minutes to do it.
I share an email address for a business related thing. It's a group, a networking group. We have an email address that's shared that we're sharing a Gmail account for purposes. There's things that you need Gmail for, right? And so we have a Gmail account that two of us manage. And the other person has the MFA. So every time I log into it, I have to send her a text message and say, that's me. And she has to give me the code. That's what I call multi-factor authentication.
That is an absolute extra safety, but obviously also quite inconvenient. You might be able to handle that with a single M365 account with a distribution list.
Oh. Yeah, but it's for a YouTube channel.
That's okay.
Yeah, so we need the Gmail account.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That is so okay. Well, that is like beyond the scope of this conversation. That's like going down a whole nother technology well. I want to come back to cooking though.
Okay.
Okay. Do you still do it?
I do, though mostly for myself and friends and family these days. Some years back, I got into candy making, kind of as a challenge, and that I do still do occasionally on the weekends. I make chocolates, hard candies, gummies, all kinds of fun things. But I'm very selective as to the jobs I'll take, and my clients understand that they can ask, and the answer will not always be yes. Um,
Yes. Yes, my husband's the same way with furniture. You can ask and I'll run it by him, but 9 out of 10 times he says no.
Yeah.
It's just
If
yeah.
they can wait a little while and I have a free weekend coming up, I will absolutely take on a project.
Oh my God. Okay, so my husband has transitioned from making furniture for movie stars to art, and he has decided that he wants to hang out at the farmers market on every Saturday and sell art. So his art is very Michigan. He's lighthouses, lake pictures, sunsets.
Oh, I should connect him with a friend of mine who does art fairs and festivals.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I went with him on this Saturday. I don't normally go. He normally goes by himself, but this Saturday I didn't have a podcast to edit, so I went with him. And the woman right behind him was selling candy,
Mhm.
and it looked like the typical candy that you would get, like hot Easter Peeps and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What she does is she puts them in a freeze dryer. And when you freeze dry candy, it doesn't shrink, it expands.
It does.
It was the weirdest thing.
If you've never, did you try any? It's
I
so
tried it.
good.
I tried a Jolly Rancher,
Okay.
and it was like eating a big cheese ball, a cheese
Yep.
puff, but it was a Jolly Rancher.
Skittles are great.
It was weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's so I don't have a dehydrator, but I'm involved with a number of different groups that are about, gardening and food preservation and canning and all kinds of stuff. I grow my own fruit trees, make a lot of peach jam, and cherry jam every season, and peach juice and cherry juice and canned peaches and pies and all kinds of
We
fun
don't live
things.
close enough to each other.
It's worth the drive.
I'm sure it is. Cherry jam sounds really good.
I ship too,
Do you?
but that's cooking has become more of a hobby, occasional side gig if I really feel up to it. But I tried to every weekend, pretty much every weekend, I make at least one elaborate dinner. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
For
Keep
Easter
your.
weekend we did pot roast. It was really good.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow. That's a good Easter dinner. Non-traditional. Okay, so I asked this question of every guest. What is your favorite? And I used to say marketing, but I want to expand beyond marketing to all business. So, what is your favorite business tool, tip, or technique?
All right. So this is something that I didn't used to do that I now do weekly, and it helps keep me sane. I sort my emails every Monday morning. Now, it might not be Monday for you, it might be another time, but I get inundated with emails every week. And I've learned that if I don't give myself, and I give myself about an hour to an hour and a half, first thing Monday morning. I know some other people who do it at the end of day Friday. My head is off in the clouds at the end of day Friday. It's not a good time for me. But I go through all the emails that I received in the previous week. I put them all into folders, usually based on client, but sometimes based on vendor or manufacturer. It just depends. And I make sure that they've all been addressed. So if anything got missed from the previous week, I add it to the top of my to-do list for that week, generally send an email back that Monday morning. So sorry, I missed this on Thursday. Let me get back to you, et cetera, whatever it happens to be. And that really, really helps me. I have the things that I sell have a very long sales cycle sometimes. I'll give you an example. I quoted
Me?
someone. Yeah, no, no, no. You're not even that long compared to some of them. Um, 18 months ago, I met with an existing client to talk about cameras. 16 months ago, I provided that client with a quote for a new camera system for their facility, basically a forklift upgrade. Old cameras go away, all new wiring, all new cameras. Didn't happen. They came back to me today and said, I'm ready. So, if I didn't have all of those emails from 18 months ago, 16 months ago, 14 months ago, where we had those ongoing conversations about what they wanted, why they were doing that, what was needed to be changed, the reasoning behind the solution, it would have been very difficult for me to go and refresh the quote and send it to them and say, I'm so glad you're ready. Here it is. Strike while the iron's hot and make the sale. But because I have all of that sorted, I could go right into that client file. I can go 14 months ago and find all of that information that I need, everything that we chatted about at that point, and refresh the quote the same day.
Wow. Are you using a CRM for that or just your email
Oh, we
client?
do use a CRM as well, but a lot of it, all of that communication is just saved in my email. We do not save every email in our CRM. I can go back and look at the quote I wrote and the notes on the quote, but what I don't have is all of that back and forth, side conversation about how we got to the
Yeah.
quote we landed at. That's all saved in my email.
So I started using HubSpot at the beginning of the year. You know this because we networked
Yeah.
together. Because I had a solution. I needed a solution to a problem I had, and HubSpot provided the solution. But it also provides a lot of other stuff that I didn't think I needed.
Mhm.
But one of the things I really like is that it does log my emails. I have it connected to Outlook, so it logs my emails, and I can actually pull up somebody in the CRM and go through our conversation.
That is neat. That
Yeah,
is
and I
neat.
I didn't I didn't think that I needed that, but it turns out I do.
It's very nice to have everything in a central location.
Yeah.
That we upgraded our CRM a couple of years back to ConnectWise. it does so much more than our old CRM used to do. It's just, exponentially better than what we were using previously. But every system is different. I mean, we need a CRM that can track a lot of parts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bits and pieces that make up the solutions that we have. So we needed something specialized for our industry. I wish it logged every email, but it doesn't.
Well, I didn't think I needed that. And HubSpot is way too heavy for me. It's got way too many features. So I have to, and every time I restart my computer, even though it's a cloud-based system, every time I restart my computer, it resets all of my things that I did to change to customize it so it's more usable for me. It's like every single time I have to go back in and change all the customizations back to the way I wanted them. But whatever.
There's got to be some way to save that.
Yeah, I know, but I have the free version because I needed a free solution. So
That's
you know
the
what?
way to save that is you
And
upgrade to the paid version.
exactly. And I'm not willing to upgrade to the paid version until I need it, and I don't need it because
Yep.
I've actually figured out how to ignore the stuff I don't need from HubSpot and only use the things I do need. And
Mhm.
some of the things I thought I needed to ignore, I actually really enjoy, like the fact that I can see the emails. And the more you use something, the better you get. So
Mhm.
is HubSpot the best CRM? No, the best CRM for you is the one that you'll use.
Yeah,
HubSpot just
absolutely.
had a feature that I needed to take care of a need. I had a specific need, and HubSpot addressed that specific need for me. Does
Yep,
that mean that I would recommend HubSpot for everybody? No, it means that it worked for me,
exactly. Well, and
which
to
goes
roll it
back to
back
what you said.
around,
Yeah.
that's what consultative selling is all about.
Hmm.
That's what being a technology success partner for my clients is all about, is getting to know what their needs are, what their challenges are, and then finding the right products and services that work for them. We used to be called integrators. That was like the name for a very long time to describe what we did, because we don't just rep for one company, we rep for lots of companies, and we build the solution based on, each client. So, what I'm selling to a fast casual restaurant is not going to be the same solution that I sell to a doctor's office, or that I sell to, a tier three supplier to a big three manufacturing organization. So there's different solutions out there for different types of business, and knowing what your business needs is very important. And a lot of business owners, they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
That's the biggest challenge, is if you're not focused on technology, if you're not living and breathing cybersecurity, there is so much out there that you don't know as a business owner. So my goal is to take that weight off the shoulders of business owners. We become their technology experts. They can be experts at whatever it is they're due, whatever it is their industry is, you wouldn't expect your doctor to be able to do your taxes. You wouldn't expect your CPA to do your landscaping. So you shouldn't expect your office manager to do all your IT work for your business.
Exactly. I do expect my CPA to be able to connect me with a good landscaper, though.
There you go.
I,
Well, you're a networker, so your CPA probably knows good landscapers.
That is true. All right. If you could be introduced to somebody who's alive, anybody in the world, who would you want to be introduced to?
Oh, that's a tough one. All right, I'm gonna go with Neil Gaiman. He's an
Oh,
author that I absolutely adore, and I would very much love to be introduced to, and maybe even get to spend some time talking with him about his writing and about
Demons
mythology.
and Angels. Is that was it? Oh, Bad Omens. Bad Omens. He wrote Bad
Good
Omens, right?
Omens,
Good
actually.
Omens. Good Omens.
Yes, yes.
Hilarious.
Yes, so they did. They made a television show out of that one. There's some other ones out there. American Gods is another one of his. They made a television show out of, but he's an excellent author. Oh, and The Sandman. That was on Netflix. That is him too. But he's an author, he's a musician. He seems like an incredibly interesting guy.
Very
And
creative mind.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's known for directly interacting with his followers on social media. actually having direct communication. So if this ever gets to anyone who actually knows Neil Gaiman, love an introduction.
Excellent. All right, Jen Shubo, this is your moment of gratitude. For whom or what are you most grateful?
Right now, I am most grateful for my husband, Jim. He has been an incredible support for me. I've had some health challenges over the past couple of years, and he basically dropped everything and became my support system. I was unable to drive for a full year due to health challenges, and I did not have to take a sabbatical or step away from my job except for a week here and there for treatment. He brought me to all of my appointments. He made sure that I always was where I needed to be. Full-time chauffeur, housekeeper, dog walker. He's the best, and I'm incredibly grateful that he's my partner in life.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast for micropreneurs building genuine, lasting relationships with clients, colleagues, and community. Our theme music is track 14 by Rev Brock and Soul Lily. Make sure to visit gratitudegeek.com for all the groovy ways to connect with our guest, Jennifer Shubo. I've been your host, Kandas Rodarte. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.